Yeah, so if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to go to my channel, Block929, subscribe there, and then go and watch Story of My Life. You know, Story of My Life is a video book that I'm doing now, sharing my experiences in South Africa. So every now and then I'll come here just to give you a preamble of what you will get when you go and watch these videos. Yeah, so this is one of the preamble. Yesterday I told you how I performed at Distel, working with my boss Debbie. Today I was sharing to you my experiences at Grand West. Grand West had a lot of experience. I think when I came to a time for Grand West, I'm gonna stay there in that period for a long, long time because there was a lot of things that used to happen and things that I can always remember until today. And the great thing about me in South Africa was that even up to now, I have this ability to visualize my future and the path that I'm going to take, you know, to move forward. I always, my wife, if she was sitting here, she would have told you. I'm always telling her, you know, this is the path I'm taking. Within a year, I'm going to be there. In the next 2 years, I'm going to be there. Okay, let me just give you another hint of what happened. My wife has played a big role in my life. There's 2 jobs that I got because of my wife. I think the other one I've shared with you, that job. But there's another job which landed me in Distel. I was working for Bosch and Dow. And Bosch and Dow was like a wine tasting assistant there, you know, tasting wines. I had a very nice boss. His name was Jamil. And for me, I believe that it was a very important thing that when I joined the wine industry, that I started joining the wine industry with Jamil. Because Jamil was a guy who was, I can call him a wine connoisseur, a wine sommelier. He's a guy who was eating, sleeping, walking, running, jumping wines. If you stand next to Jamil and Jamil is talking about wine, it was like music. It was like you were listening to a love song, you know. That's how he was, and he would be talking and say, you know, the Chardonnay from Bosch and Dow, part of it we put it in oak barrels to give it a little bit of body. I'm telling you, when I came to working at Bosch and Dow, and every time he's standing there talking to the customers, I always hung around him to, you know, so that I can get this kind of connotation, wine connotations like aroma, you know, body, you know, full on the mouth, you know, things like that. So when he would talk, I mean, when I go home, I would be, wow, I mean, this is the life, you know, wine industry is the life. It was unbelievable. You know, when we knock off from work, we used to walk a long distance to go and get our taxi, a minibus. From the farm to the main road where we get a minibus, it was a long, long, long road. But I never felt any pain because when I finish work, I'm so motivated, wanting the day to finish. I must quickly go home, sleep, and come back to work and hear Jamil speaking. The best manager in the wine industry that I ever had was Jamil, because he was the first one who introduced the wine, and he's the one who believed in me, because my wife used to know somebody who was working for Bosch and Dow, and then this lady, she told him, this lady, that my husband is working at this wine furniture, at the furniture shop. So he's always been saying he would like to go in the wine industry. So this woman was working at the Bosch and Dow at the restaurant. So she said, oh no, I work at Bosch and Dow. Every now and then we go on our systems, there will be adverts. Maybe if there is anything at the wine tasting center, I will let you know. And one day it just happened. And she told my wife, she said, hey, there is a position they're looking for wine advisors. They used to call us wine advisors there. They're looking for wine advisors. So tell your husband to apply. I sent my CV, boom, sent it to Bosch and Dow. And the CV was going straight to Jamil. Jamil got my CV. I'm sure he looked at it and said, this guy looks like he's a guy that I can work with. He calls me for an interview. I go for the interview. Ted, you said you worked in the casino. I said, yes. He said, then why do you want to come in the wine industry? There was only one answer that I gave him. opportunity for learning and growth. He just nodded. He said, Ted, yes, opportunity for learning and growth. And you know, in the wine industry, there is a lot that you can achieve. And when you say opportunity for learning and growth, you are right. Oh, when I went home, I said, I'm just waiting for Jamil to call me. I tell my wife, how do you know? I said, the interview was so great. It was so great. Next day, Jamil calls me, when can you start tomorrow? I said, yes. And I immediately quit my job where I was working. Then I went to Bosch now and met this great boss who was who could do a wine tasting like a poem, like a poet. When you listen to it, it's like you're listening to a poem or you're listening to a love song. That was how good he is. So I started working there at Bosch now as a wine advisor. The first time I have ever touched alcohol, can you imagine? I never touched alcohol. He asked me, Ted, have you ever tasted wine before? I said, no, I've never touched alcohol in my life. Then he looked at me and I said, so first time to touch wine. They're giving me a glass. They said, Ted, nose the wine. I take the wine, I nose it. It just smells to me. They say, everybody's around there. We know there were some wine advisors that were there. We're doing wine tasting. And they're from, hey, somebody always calls me when I'm doing this thing. Let me just put the volume down. It seems like sometimes the people, they see me live, they say, let me talk to Ted, Yeah, so then everybody's talking. I think this Chardonnay, I can smell a little bit of wood in there. And so me, I'm nosing, I'm saying, but I'm just smelling like things that are like yak. And then they taste the wine. Everybody swill the wine. They swill the wine. And they look at the wine, they say, this Chardonnay, because it was in the wood, look at the tears that are shells moving down there. I said, tears? Up to tears. Wine is actually crying with tears. And they look at, they look at the tears, and everybody's, tears. And then they sip the wine. And then me, I'm also sipping the wine. And then they're all going. Me, I'm looking and say, so you go like that. And then they say, this wine is good. Can you feel it on the party? And it's almost like butter at the back here. I said, I don't feel any butter. But when I went home, I said, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to work in an industry where the product can speak to you. And you can speak to the product. I said, wow, this is like amazing. I'm in the wine industry now. And you can just imagine the passion that I had. So my wife used to get a lift. She was working in Stellenbosch for the Stellenbosch company that was making locks. So she used to get a lift with a guy who was working at Neatlings of Wine Estate. And every now and then they will pass through Boschendau because it was like their shortcut to go to Stellenbosch. So when they pass Boschendau, she will always say, I wonder what my husband is doing. He's very passionate about wine. So the guy will be like driving the car. He says, what does he do? I said, no, where's your husband from? I'm from Malawi. But you're saying that he's passionate about wine. She says, my husband is very good in wines. He's one of the best wine advisors at Bosch. And I said, really? And she said, and he said to me, he would like to work for a big company like Distel. Then the guy said, Neatlings of where I work, it's part of Distel. So one day when I get a position there, I will sneak it to a husband. So one day he gives a paper to my wife. He says, hey, there's a position at Neatlings of, give it to a husband. You said your husband is good with wines, he can get a job. Here is a thing he must apply. She gave it to me. I look at this thing, I send a CV with a covering letter. I never used to just send a CV with without a covering letter. I wrote a covering letter, I can't remember what was the covering letter, send it to Boschendau. And then one day they call me for interview. And me, I prepare for interview. So I prepared myself, I arrived there. Ted, you come for interview? Yes, okay, follow me. There was this lady, Tanya, she said, follow me. We came to the office, we find this lady, her name was Ambi. She was a human resources manager. We sat in there. The interview was so brief. I never had the time to play my interview tricks in there. I tell you, say you work at Boschendau. Yeah, they look at the CV. Okay, so you are wine advisor. How long are you working there? Okay, fine. All right, so tell us, what are your dreams? I mean, your dreams. I talk about my dreams, and she just said, okay, fine, boom, just like that. And she says, we will call you to give you the results. I knew I didn't get the job. I knew I didn't get the job. I just felt it right there and then. I didn't get the job. And I almost killed myself that day. Then I said, okay, thank you. She said, yeah, we will call you. And so I stood up, and Tanya stood up. She said, let me escort you. And then she escorted me, closed the door, and she closed the door behind her. She said, Ted, you did very well in that interview. Here is my business card. If you need anything, you can always contact me. I said, oh, thank you very much. And I put my business card, the business card in my wallet, and I leave. She said, okay, thank you, Ted. We'll see you. We'll let you give you the results. I was gone. I arrived at home. I tell my wife, she said, how was the interview? I said, I didn't do very well. I can almost hit myself. She said, why? I said, I should have seen it. I should have seen it quicker. Because this is human resources manager, I don't think she wanted me, because the way she did the interview, it was just like abrupt. Never gave me time to unleash myself in the interview. I said, but this. And then she said, no, don't worry. Within a few weeks, I got an email saying, we regret that you didn't get the job at Newton's, but yeah, maybe in the future you can try and stuff. Thanks very much for that. I said, wow, I didn't get that job. So that guy was telling my wife, you said your husband, she said, but my husband is complaining that the thing and stuff. The guy was laughing, you said your husband you can get in a job and stuff like that. Okay, I said, okay, now let me strike back. I go to the internet cafe. I take Tanya's business card. Bah! Dear Tanya, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for the interview. Just for you to consider me for the interview, it has given me confidence that I'm in the right direction. Because I never expected a big company like yours to ever suggest or think of calling me for an interview. I assure you that you must keep my CV, because I am coming back whenever there's another position. Thank you very much. Regards, Ted Kwereveta. Email. I just saw respond. Ted Kwereveta. Hi Ted, thank you for your wonderful letter. In fact, you did very well. The only thing is that we wanted somebody who can speak Germany, and that's why you didn't get the position. Next time when there's a position, yeah, I'll think about you and what, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, blah, blah. Ding. I said, okay, fine. Now I tell my wife, I said, hey, please, always, that guy was Andrew, he was working at Knittingsoft. I said, always nag Andrew. It wasn't long. My wife comes home again, she says, hey, there's another position in that place. Here it is. Apply. I apply again. I say, dear Tanya, and the manager was Katrine. I think I sent a cover letter that I would like to apply the wine testing and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. There they did call me for an interview. So I said to my wife, they've called me for an interview at Knittingsoft. Now, this time, I need to get this job. Whether they like it or not, I must get this job. So she said, what are you going to do? I said, okay, tell that guy to give me any wine from there. He must buy a bottle of wine and bring it with. And then she says, okay. She goes to him, she says, Andrew, my husband, he says, I must ask you for a bottle of wine. So he said, what wine? He said, hey, my husband says any bottle of wine. So he says, why does your husband want a bottle of wine? She says, no, I don't know, but he says, you must just bring me a bottle of wine. So the guy went to the wine tasting center, met Katrine there. She said, I would like to buy a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. And then he said, okay. Andrew, you drink and wine? I just want Sauvignon Blanc. And she sold him this bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. When she picked my wife, she said, hey, give your husband this bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah. And then she came home, she says, here's the bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. I said, thank you. Now, I go to the internet cave, I take the name of the Sauvignon Blanc. I can't remember what the Sauvignon Blanc was called. I don't know whether it was Professor Black or what, but I can't remember. Maybe Professor Black was, but it was one of the best Sauvignon Blancs. I can't remember what the actual Sauvignon Blanc name was. I will do homework when I'm doing it on the book. I must have the name. So I go to the internet, search for the wine. Oh, it's a wine. The information, this Sauvignon Blanc is planted on the hills of Papa Hill Fields or whatsoever in Stellenbosch. It gets a nice cool breeze coming from the sea, which chills it up and makes it a wine that's very zesty. When you drink it, you feel that acidity on the back of your palate. The information is there. May I download this information, I download the history of Nittlingshof as usual, I don't download the values, the mission statement and stuff. And then I said, okay, fine. I came home, I memorized these things. The day before the interview, I take my wine, I put it in the fridge. It must be cold. I had a wine cooling thing, like container that I got from when I did a course at Wine Academy. They gave us this container with wine glasses and stuff. It had 6 glasses. I said, I'm going to take this thing, and I take my wine, put it in a certain bag with a little bit of ice to keep the wine cold. Then my wife talked to Andrew, can you give my husband a lift? He says, no problem, because now I have to be at the interview very early. Now I take this thing, go into Andrew's car. He looks at me, he sees I'm carrying this little bag, a maroon bag, and this is a black bag. Then he's just shaking his head. He said, hey, this woman's husband, this Malawian, he must be mad. When we arrived at the farm, the main entrance, there's these 2 big pillars and there's a long street. Most of the farms in South Africa, they've got this long street with big trees. And it had a long street with big blue gum trees. I said, wow, this is beautiful. Then the guy just stopped at the entrance. He said, hey, my friend, I don't want them to see you that I brought you. So I'm going to drop you here. You will have to walk. I said, no problem. He drove going to work. Me, I started walking with my bag. I think he was just embarrassed with this guy who's coming like he's a pirate or he's that guy who walks with the president of America carrying this briefcase. That's how I was looking like. Like somebody who's carrying some bombs or what. So I walked that stretch. And this day we came so early. I arrived at the reception. I found this lady, a very beautiful lady. I go to her. She said, yes, can I help? I said, no, I came for an interview. I said, what's your name? I said, my name is Ted. She said, hey, but you're early. I said, yeah, better early than never. Have a seat there. So I was sitting there, waiting. Now Tanya comes, walks in there. There's another woman, her name is Katrine. She walks, they pass, they come there. Tanya says, hello, Ted. I say, hi, fine. And then they go, I'm still sitting. And because you were early, you're sitting there, sweat is going. My shirt is already wet to here. Yeah, wet. Because interviews in South Africa, you mustn't mess up because it's a one-time opportunity. So I'm already sweat. I'm just feeling that cold sweat coming down here. I said, but really, it's big shit here. But now I said, okay, I'm just, reminiscing and thinking Sauvignon Blanc from the hills and getting this cool breeze, zesty, and then memorizing everything. And then Tanya comes, hey, you can come, you can follow me. So I'm following her, I sit there. Now this time it's not the human resources manager, now it's the one testing manager interviewing me with Tanya, who was like a facilities manager, if I'm not, or marketing manager. So they sit me. So Tanya said, Ted, we've met before, this is Katrine, if you get a job, you'll be working for her, and stuff like that. And so Katrine says, hi Ted, how are you? I said, I'm fine. And hey, Katrine, she just pulls her, like very, very serious lady. And she starts asking me questions. Ted, tell us about yourself. My name is Ted, I'm from Malawi. I've worked with Grand West Casino as a supervisor, got promoted to chief manager, left the job, started my own business, failed, and then I worked for Fairdew Furniture as a sales rep, ended up at Bosch & Dow. I've been working with Bosch & Dow as a wine advisor. Now here I am, wanting to work for you guys. That's wonderful and stuff like that and whatever. Do you have any questions? Yes, I've got questions. I want to know about your company. If a person can prove themselves that they're very hardworking and also they are very ambitious to grow, what opportunities are there? She said, no, this company is part of Distel. If you work here, it means you will end up in Distel and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. And then suddenly there's a silence. I said, this is the time. This is it. This is my moment. I said, excuse me, is it possible that I can do a presentation? And they're looking at each other. They say, oh yes, it's okay, go ahead. I'm taking my little bag, zip one glass to the facility, to the manager. another one to Tanya, and another one to me. Bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, gone. Then I said, I start. First of all, Knittingsoft is part of Distel and is owned by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Hans Schreiber, who owns a certain percentage of the shares, and Distel owns the other percentage of the shares. And Knittingsoft produces some of their best wines like blah, 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 blah. And now I'm going to make you taste this wine, which is the Sauvignon Blanc from Knittings. It's one of the best Sauvignon Blancs you can ever get in this area. The reason why this Sauvignon Blanc is so good is because it is strategically positioned on the hills of the Papa Hill Hills, and it gets a nice cool breeze that comes from the sea, which cools it down. And because of this, it's a wine that's very zesty. You get a feel of the acidity on the palate. You can enjoy this wine with a salad, and also you can enjoy it with white meat. And sometimes you can also drink it on its own, more especially for an occasion like a wedding. Then I finish. They look at each other. Then Katrine says, wow, that's fantastic, Ted. Did you get this wine from Andrew? And me, I just smiled. She says, Andrew came to me the other day, and he asked me to give, he bought a bottle of, this same bottle of wine. Now you're also coming from Pau. I figured out that Andrew must have been the one who gave you this wine. I just smiled. You know, inside I just knew, I have got the job. She said, okay, thank you very much. Tanya immediately said, Ted, thank you. Tanya stands up. Let me go and clean your glasses. She takes my glasses, going there, clean my glasses, bring them back. I put my glasses in there. Okay, Ted, thank you very much for the nice presentation. We'll get back. Katrina says, I will give back to you. I'm not promising that you're going to get the job, but if you get a job with us, you're going to get this, you're going to get medical allowance, you're going to get this, and pension fund, and all this, and blah, blah, blah. At Boschenda, I was working as a, we call it a what? Part-time guys. So we were not having medical aid, we were not having life insurance, and having pension fund and stuff. But here now I'm going to start having pension fund and all these things, blah, blah, blah. I said, wow. She said, yeah, so we'll let you know. I stand up. Tanya again escorts me out of the office and says, thank you very much, Ted. You did a very good performance. I said, thank you. And she turns around and I'm going. Now, when you're coming out of the office, when you walk, there's a sharp corner, you know? So I walk, I look behind, I see the offices there are people outside and stuff. I'm sure Andrew must have gone to look inside, how Ted is looking and stuff like that. Me, I'm walking. The moment I just walked and see that nobody can see me, I just went, yes! I've got the job now, I've got it. Hey, when I was walking to go on from there in Knittingsoft, because now there was no taxis there. It's like almost 5 kilometers to go to the town to get a taxi. I walked, but I never felt that mile. I walked myself, happy. I could feel the chills in my body that I've got this job. Because I was the first one to be interviewed. I knew everybody was going to come, whether it's a white person or what, is in big trouble. I've just shown them that I can sell their wine. Hey. Then I went home. I left home. My wife says, what happened? I said, I've got the job. She said, how do you know? I said, I've got the job. If they don't take me, they will never find a guy like me again. I don't think in that interview they'll find a guy who can perform like I performed today, because Jamil at Boschenda had sharpened me to be able to, express the wine like what you call this, to bring melody in the wine tasting. So I brought the melody in the wine tasting that day. I can never forget that day. And then after some time, I just heard a call Katrine. Ted, this is Katrine. We were thinking that from the 1st of this month, you can come and start working here at Knittingsoft. Guys, when I told my wife tears, like, those, sometimes you get those tears that when I just told my wife, I've got the job. My wife just looked at me and like tears just started dripping on her eyes like this. I said, my wife, we are back in business again. We are back in business. Because before we were in the casino, we blew it up, started a business, lost a job, and suffered a lot. My wife hugged me and we hugged each other that day. My wife was crying. I said, we are back in business. I was getting a salary around 5,000 rands and with medical aid and provident fund. I'm telling you. Now the problem was, how will I be traveling to Nitrinsov? That was the problem. But then I got the job. So guys, don't miss my book. My video book, Story of My Life, is on my YouTube channel. You must go and follow that one. And as time goes by, it will be improving. Now the color has improved, the sound has improved. So then there will be the background will improve as we move forward, and even I'm gonna have more and more energy and telling you about my life story in South Africa. Thank you very much for sitting there to watch this video. I really appreciate every now and then that you spend your time to watch my stories. There are so many stories that can inspire a lot of the young people, and they can learn from these stories. Even people who are much older. The other day, there's a guy from America. He said, Ted, I'm older than you, but I'm learning so much from you. So thank you very much. Go to my channel, subscribe, like, and share my videos so that many people can get reached. Right now, there's people from Nigeria, from Kenya, from all over that are following my videos. Thank you very much, Malawians, for always being there for me.
If you liked watching this and you want to see the whole story, click here. If you want to see more about my stories in South Africa, click here.